Hello, my name is Milo Fisherman, and I am doing my Game for Learning analysis video on the game Settlers of Catan, or in newer versions, just Catan. So to provide a brief overview, Catan is a multiplayer board game designed by Klaus Tuber, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and the overall premise of the game is that us as the players take on roles of settlers on the fictional island of Catan. The island of Catan is represented by hexagonal tiles of different land types, which are laid out randomly at the start of the game. Additionally, at the beginning of the game, each player gets to place 2 settlements and roads on Catan. These settlements allow the players to acquire resources that they can use to build more roads, settlements, and even cities, all in the hopes of earning victory points. The first player to 10 victory points wins. Looking at some of the game mechanics in Catan, we will be taking a deeper dive into the objective, economics, and information structure held within this game. So the objective of Catan is construction. This game uses resource management as a means to build architecture. And it does this through a complex bartering system, which is crucial to gameplay as resources allow players to build roads, cities, and settlements in order to get points. So like a simple bartering system, players have the ability to trade resources on their turn. But unlike a simple bartering system, values of the market can fluctuate dramatically game to game. The first time I played Catan, there was a scarcity of ore, whereas the second time I played, I had a monopoly on ore but couldn't get wool to save my life. There are numbers on each of the land types on Catan. On a player's turn, they roll a dice, and if any player has a settlement on a land with the corresponding number, they get that resource. If a player rolls a 7, any player who has more than 7 resources in their hand has to discard half of it, and they get to move the robber on a land to halt production of that resource. And the information structure of Catan runs off a hidden information structure. So each player's resources are hidden in their hand. However, when players receive resources from their settlements, it's an open process. So as long as you are paying attention to which players are obtaining certain resources, you can know who to trade with and who not to halt production of resources if you want to trade and keep the peace. Looking at the user experience and social connections you can make through playing Catan, we can see that Catan employs a multilateral competition player interaction pattern. This is because 3 to 4 players are directly competing against one another for land and resources. Catan also utilizes the Achiever's social play role. Players in Catan are looking to gain victory points. Socialization takes place through bartering and attempting to figure out one another's strategy to gain points. If one player in the game isn't too overpowered, gameplay could last a while as players silently devise plans and barter resources. The first time I played Catan, I played with my friend Robbie and their partner Connor, who owned the game, and played it together fairly often. I felt like I couldn't compete as they had a secret bartering language and just understood each other. The next time I played Catan with Robbie and my friend Kelly and one of my other friends, the gameplay was a lot smoother as I feel like we all were on an even playing field as there was no one person who was better at bartering than another. Catan is a great example of an endogenous game. The gameplay of Catan is interactive and changes because of the people you are playing with through the bartering system. This allows for learning as players need to learn how to strategize a way to earn points for themselves. They need to learn how to barter among 2 to 3 other players. Knowledge is also leveraged in this game because players need to think a few steps ahead to understand what other players' game strategies are. While trading may be beneficial to you, will it also be beneficial to the other players? Can the resources you give them be used to overpower you in the end? This type of game is best for learning because it requires players to learn and adapt in order to get better at the game. While gameplay may not always be the same, if you play with the same people, you can learn how to better barter with them. As I said before, my friend Robbie and their partner Connor played the game fairly often together, and because of that, they learned how to effectively barter with one another. Looking at the teaching implications of this game, I could see how it would be really great to play in a history class to teach about how early settlements had to barter for resources in order to survive. Because the game is set on a fictional island, I feel like you can apply this game to any early settlement in history because when you boil it down, this game provides a basis of how early civilizations function. The box says the game is suited for players ages 10 and up, but I'd say this game works best for late elementary to middle school age children. I would break the students into groups of 4 and have them play the game after learning about the early settlements in history class. I would then have a classroom conversation about how their experiences were playing the game, what resources were valuable to them, what resources were abundant, how did it affect trade, and how this relates to the actual early settlements that we have learned in history class.